Alright, so today we're going to look at our partitive articles. So a partitive article, exactly the way the name sounds, expresses a part of something. So you have some pie instead of an entire pie. It's not always easy to translate into English, but it's generally around the concept of some or any. Any is what we typically use in questions. So, for example, would you like any pie? We don't mean would you like any single one of an entire pie. We mean do you want part of this pie? As normal, these are articles, just like le, la, le, un, de, etc., and they'll always go in front of whatever the thing is that's being divided. Just like le, la, le, and un, de, the partitives are different based upon the gender and the number of the noun that they're discussing. So if we look at our chart, starting with our singular column, we have du, de la, and de l'apostrophe. So du is de and le, they combine to form du. The feminine, they stayed the same, de la, doesn't change. And when we begin with a vowel, regardless of if it's a feminine or a masculine word, we'll use de l'apostrophe. Just like our other articles, the plural is all the same. They're all de, regardless of if it's masculine, feminine, or what letter it begins with. Yes, that does mean that the partitive article is the exact same as the indefinite article, un, de. We have to figure out which one is meant based on context. So let's look at some practice sentences. How would you say, there are some apples? Il y a des pommes. This is actually very, very, very similar to the indefinite article. And that might have been the one that you thought about. But what if we're talking in the singular? There is some apple. So, like you've cut up an apple and you want to share it with your friend. How would you say, there is some apple? All we have to do is change des pommes into a singular form. Il y a de la pomme. Let's try a more complicated sentence. How would you say, I'm going to buy some bread? You're not buying all the bread in the entire world. You're just buying some bread. Je vais acheter, I'm going to buy, du pain, some bread. Since pain is a masculine word. How would you ask someone, would you like some water? Tu voudrais, or tu veux, de l'eau. De l'eau. Because O, of course, begins with an E, which is a vowel. There is one extra form of the partitive. If the partitive article comes after a negative, such as a ne pas, ne jamais, ne rien, so on and so forth, or if it comes after a quantity phrase, So you're saying words like beaucoup, a lot, assez, enough, un peu, a little. Then no matter what the article would normally be, no matter if the word following it is feminine, masculine, plural, if it starts with a vowel, no matter what, the partitive will always be de, de, and nothing else. Let's look at some examples. If I said, j'ai des chiens, j'ai beaucoup de chiens. I have a lot of dogs. Note that when we talk about this, we still aren't using the some or the any in the English. I have some dogs becomes I have a lot of dogs. We don't say I have a lot some dogs or I have a lot any dogs, but we're still using this partitive de in French. Or if we're going to ask a negative sentence, if we want to ask, tu as du pamplemousse? Do you have any grapefruit? Non, je n'ai pas de pamplemousse. I don't have any grapefruit. Here we can hear the partitive in English, but we're still not going to use the do, even though pamplemousse is obviously still a masculine word. The gender of the word didn't change. But since it's a negative sentence, we have to use de instead of do. So let's look at some of these sentences. On another sheet of paper or somewhere else on your computer, try and figure out which partitive articles would you put into these sentences.